and that's because I knew them, and I became known by winning Open and going into Invite. And I took a team, I led a team from Open to Invite, and then when I was in Invite, like, that's when I was already known, going to events and everything. But if you would have to give, let's say, 5 tips on how to go pro, what would it be? Deathmatch and matchmake, of course, but what else? Hit me. Or match knowledge. Good communication, good work ethic, understanding that a play that wins you a round isn't necessarily the smart play to make. So you need to be able to distinguish between those two things, that they are different things. Just because you won a round doesn't mean the play you did to win that round is a smart play. If you win the round with that play and you do that play again, assuming it's going to work because it worked that last time, that's a bad way to approach the game. You have to take it, and you need a larger sample size. So that's the sample size of 1. You need a larger sample size. You need to say, okay, if I do this play over the course of 10 times or 100 times, how many times will this work? And if the percentage is like 50 or less, it's a high-risk play, and it's something that you shouldn't be doing on a regular basis. It worked that one time. It's a coin flip. Try to get something that's a little bit more consistent. And that's one thing that people have questioned. Like, people always ask, I'm not consistent enough, how do I become more consistent in the game? And it boils down to that. It boils down to the fact that, you know, some people, they play too aggressive, or they don't analyze the play, and they think that the play that they made this one time that worked, they try to keep on doing it, and it doesn't work, and they're wondering why. Like, last night I got 30 bombs in 5 games in a row, and now I can't get a kill. Well, that's probably the reason. You have to understand and think about the game analytically, and just step the fuck back from just running around, no brain, just running and gunning. Opinions on deathmatch and headshot deathmatch? Do you... See, you can do regular deathmatch, and you can just tell yourself, okay, on this, I'm going to practice only flicking to people's heads, so I'm not going to pre-aim at all. On this, I'm going to have volume 0, so it's all a reaction. I don't have footsteps, so I'm just always turning around constantly. So you're practicing your 180s and your 360s and your sharp 90-degree turns. You're practicing that because you don't have audio. You don't have any audio cues. You have to constantly look everywhere on the map. So there's other ways to train that you don't need to go headshot mod only. Oh, I'm just practicing headshots. Like, you can incorporate these into regular death matches, regular aim maps, whatever the case may be. But make sure I answer that question. 5 tips on how to go pro, what would it be? Very good communication. You need to be reliable, so that means if you have a practice schedule, you show up on time for practice. It means you do things that are productive during practice, so you don't just play just to play. Like, when you get on for practice, it's not, okay, we're on for practice, let's just scrim. That's not practice, that's just playing. Like, what is the goal, what is the objective of that scrimmage? When you go into scrimmage, you should have, like, a focus, something that, like a game plan. Okay, we're gonna scrimmage tonight. When we scrimmage tonight, our goal is to fix this strat, or make sure this setup on CT side is working well, or let's practice our default, or let's, you know, that's what you do in scrimmages. You test all the things that, you know, you have your setups, you have your strats, let's test what works. You'll go into a scrimmage with your new strats, you'll try the strat, and it won't work. And what you do is you go back, you finish the scrim, you go back, you say, okay, so when we run the strat, the enemies did this and this and this to counter it. This smoke wasn't useful. This flash wasn't useful. We need to flash this area instead. And then you kind of fix the strat. You go into another scrimmage. You try the new strat, the new and improved one, the tweaked one, and then you try that again. Okay, what other changes do we have to make? That's what you use practice for. You don't just play just to play. Like, if you're playing just to play to improve your aim, you can get more improvement per time put in by going to a deathmatch or to an aim map. Because you're constantly in action, you're constantly fighting, you're constantly aiming and you're shooting and testing your different spray patterns. When you're playing a scrimmage, half the time you're just staring at a wall with a smoke in your hands, the other half the round you're dead. It's like, what practice are you actually getting there? Nothing. So you gotta understand what you're using your time on. One sec, I need to wash this thing. Okay, dude, there's loads of questions. Let's see. What makes a good in-game leader? A good in-game leader is a person who can listen to their teammates, listen to suggestions, understand the strengths and weaknesses of their players, to properly position all the players around the map. So you know, this person, he likes lurking, but he's better at this position, so I'm going to put him here instead, and I'm going to make him be an entry fragger. This person thinks he's an opper, but he's actually really good with the rifle, so I'm going to make him rifle, and this other person's going to op instead. So an in-game leader needs to be able to make those decisions, to be able to position the players amongst, like around the map, and they need to be able to listen to their teammates for advice, and they need to have very good communication skills. They need to make sure everyone understands the strat and the purpose of the strat, but they also have to go beyond that and say, okay, this time is practice, this is what we're doing during practice, this is what we need to work on. So they need to also do that as well. What keyboard, mousepad, and mouse do I use? You should be able to do exclamation mouse, exclamation mousepad, exclamation keyboard for that. I got damaged, but I don't feel like I'm at the skill level. How can I improve myself at this level of play? Honestly, just improve your movement and aim, and then the rest of it will come to you while you rank up. Which team, in my opinion, has the best T-side defaults? Ooh. I haven't been watching enough CS lately to be able to give an answer. The money I make now is good. I worked in IT in an office job, and I worked more hours, longer hours. While I enjoy the job a lot, it's completely different to this. I have more flexible hours. I choose when I want to do it, and the money is still good. When I first started playing CS, when did you realize, damn, I'm better than most players? I've always kind of had that attitude, just like, because I grew up with 3 older brothers, and my older brothers and I used to play LAN games all the time, and I used to get my ass kicked. Granted, they were much older than me, right? They're, 4, 6, 8 years older than me. So when I play them, and I'm, 6 years old, of course they're gonna scrape me. They're just gonna destroy me because they have a better understanding of everything. They have better hand-eye coordination, better mechanics, better everything. They understand so much more just because of the age. But I always tried my best to kind of compete with them, and that level of competitiveness, just trying to like always compete with them and always try to improve and be better than them, is a thing that pushed me to become as good as I am today, more than anything else. Also, I used to do sports as a kid. I did loads of sports. Guys, this is gonna make a little bit of noise. I did soccer, I did tennis, I did a season of hockey. But yeah, I did soccer indoor and outdoor, so I played all season long. I used to bike ride everywhere. I did track and field. I played soccer on my high school team. So I've always been competitive in that regard. How does an unknown player get a team? How do you search after a team? You gotta start at the bottom. Everyone starts at the bottom. Nobody gets freebies. Nobody gets freebies. Start at the bottom, play an open, do well, perform, get onto a better open team. Someone like a team that goes farther, get makes it into intermediate, rank up, and get into main. When you start going there and you perform really well in those divisions, that's when you get onto the top main team. And with the top main team, you get pushed into invite. You gotta play it that way and just climb the ladders. It doesn't take long. A season's like, what, 4 months? So you take 4 months, 4, 8, 12 months, 3 seasons, that's 1 year. 1 year, and then you can go pro. If you do it, if you're as good as you think you are, that's as long as it should take. It took me that long. I started in 2008, I was pro by 2010. So It's doable. It's not like I'm just blowing shit out of my ass. I started after everyone else, and I made it before everyone else. You've been playing widescreen for a while, and you're switching to 4x3 stretch. Do you recommend changing the MIA? I didn't change my MIA personally. So, how important are 144 hertz monitors? Okay, so the monitors and the refresh rate, i.e. hertz, means that the screen, everything that displays on the screen registers or refreshes twice as fast, or in the case of 144 hertz, 2.5 times faster. Now what this does is, let's say you move your mouse quickly across the screen. Because it's refreshing the frames more frequently, you're gonna see it's gonna be smoother when you flick across. So it's gonna be easier on your eyes, and you're gonna have like more consistent flicks, because instead of it just being purely hand-eye coordination where you just have to like close your eyes and just flick and just hope where it is, you can actually use your eyes as the image is coming back to you to kind of adjust where your aim is. The other thing is spraying and recoil control looks different. It just looks and feels so much smoother on a better monitor. Really, if you just try it once, you'll understand. It's very hard to put into words, but if you try it once, you just understand how important it is. Dylan, what's a man gotta do to get you to check your Facebook messages? I'll check my Facebook messages after I'm done streaming today. I'm still in Vaughan, correct? I'm still around there, yeah. Have I been to college and university? What did I study? I studied psychology in university. I went to the University of Guelph, Ontario. You really need to learn how teach Tarek how to use his movement. Wait. You just stood more or less still when you played 1 versus 1s. I'm assuming you're German. A lot of Germans make that grammatical error. When I'm going up a ladder, I realize that there are people with reflex and aim, but terrible game knowledge, and people with the opposite. Is this a legit thing? Yeah, so you'll see that all the time. People who are just fucking bricks in game get by, and this goes back to what I was saying about people who really don't know anything about the game mechanics, don't know about rotations, positioning, setups, crossfires, trade kills, pop flashes, communication skills are poor. People without all those skills get by with really good movement, really good aim, and it saturates the talent pool, because now you have a shitload of people at the top of the division, and you can't separate them. You have all these fucking dumb players playing at the top of the scene, and then all the newcomers who come into the game start looking at these people playing and start copying everything they do, and it's the wrong thing, it's the wrong approach to the game, and then nobody improves. That's a big fucking problem right now. I need to find a plastic bag, one sec. Crimsoning Clover. There's a new that game came out H-Hour Worlds of Light. Oh, okay. If so, yes, a golden god. Why WRX instead of STI? Because the price difference is like $10,000–$15,000. The price difference alone is like at least $10,000. Then you have to factor in insurance and fuel prices, and then it's because I'm financing, it's going to cost more via interest. It's just not worth it. If I had double my income, maybe I'd do it. But the fact of the matter is, while I may be able to afford it, it's not a wise decision. It's not an intelligent choice. Why did I change my res? I just needed a change. I changed my crosshair, my res, my mouse pad, my mouse. I just wanted to change. Sometimes you play over and over with the same stuff and it gets stale, and you just need a change. And sometimes it's as simple as changing res, changing sensitivity on your mouse by 0.1, changing mouse. It could be anything. You just need that little bit of change that kind of refreshes you. And everyone does it. Everyone does it. I know some people that change the resolution in the middle of lands. How much do I earn from streaming? You're thinking of starting streaming yourself? It varies person to person. It varies. Honestly, you can't gauge me as a person because, you know, I had the background as I was a professional player. I played for Abba Power. I played in pro tournaments. I had torqued. So people knew me through that. And that's how I had a large part of my audience. And people stay because of my skill in the game, you know, mostly, and then part personality. If you're going to start streaming, then you need to have something that makes people come and see you as opposed to every other Joe Blogs that's out there streaming. So I have being a pro player first, and then, you know, my personality second. You need to have either the same thing, or your personality needs to be fucking amazing. Like Tim the Tap Man, he has a very engaging personality. He's always talking with his stream. He's always positive. He's funny. He's good at storytelling. He's decent at games. So he's a very successful streamer in that regard. So if you would want to be a successful streamer, you need to do the same thing as him. And honestly, it depends. It's month to month. It's different. You have donations. You have ad revenue. You have subscription revenue. You have sponsor revenue. There's different avenues you can make money. And I would market something like people would benefit more from me marketing some things like Streak.gg. It makes sense for me to market it because it's for people who follow the competitive scene. People who watch me follow the competitive scene, generally speaking, so Streak.gg applies to them. But Streak.gg is not going to apply to Kitty Plays Games because people that watch Kitty Plays Games don't watch her for her skill in CS, they watch her for her other features. What's up, Lormiet? Hey, so just a quick question. If you were forced to play with a Dren, how would you use him to play internationally? What about Fugly? Ooh. Fugly's a different story because I've never actually played with them. I have played with a Dren. I'd put him in opera role. I would not give him leadership over the in-game decision making. A Dren dropped off a lot between CSS and CSGO. He's not the same player that he once was. He used to be a fucking force to reckon with in Source. And in CSGO, he hasn't found the same amount of success. So I would just try to focus on... I'd put him in an opera role, and I would take over the in-game calling, essentially. I won't be going to any Subaru car meets. If a player with bad equipment, pretty much everything, including PC, how much will you improve by everything new? A lot. FPS, a good monitor with 144 hertz, a good mouse pad that lets the mouse track well, a mechanical keyboard that has a very good response rate, and light switches. Light switches as in the weight of the switches are lighter. You're going to play a lot better than if you're using an old rubber dome keyboard, an old shitty optical mouse or ball mouse more specifically, a 60 hertz monitor with 15 ms response time and, you know, input lag. I mean, you're better off with a CRT than you are with most of those older LCD monitors. So you'll see a drastic improvement, especially like FPS is probably the biggest thing. Can anyone develop a good understanding of the game, or does it have to come naturally? It's the whole like nature nurture debate, right? It's the same thing with CS. Some people are just naturally good at it. Some people need to work at it a lot to become good at it. But the fact of the matter is, you need to have a little bit of both. So you can't just be born with it. It's not Maybelline. Sometimes you're born with an ability, but you need to develop that ability through practice. But sometimes if you don't have the ability, all the time if you don't have the ability, doesn't matter how much practice you have, you're still gonna be shit.